Keller Williams Command brings the agent operating system and the consumer operating system together seamlessly.
Command organized everything for me and put it in one place.
When you have dominion over what you've got at your fingertips, it gives you the opportunity to grow. I was always moving between these different applications,
but none of them talk to one another. And as a result, there's lost clients, which means lost dollars.
A spreadsheet for my finances.
We had 7 or 8 different logins.
A spreadsheet for my showings reports, for my listings, my price adjustments.
It was a big time drain.
Our goal is nothing short of reinventing how people experience real estate through technology and making sure that you're the owner of that technology.
We wanted to build a platform that would connect Keller Williams agents all over the world. This technology was built by agents, directed for agents, and ultimately created to make your lives better.
We really took time with each one of the applets, getting to know how it could help us in our business, and Designs was huge because it eliminated that Canva expense. We templated what is our brand going to be, and now everything is branded, it's succinct, it takes seconds to create new listing, under contract, just closed.
We use the campaigns dashboard a lot. Within the campaigns dashboard, we can send direct mailers out to neighborhoods that we farm. You just choose like an area, or you can say 123 Main Street, we want like 250 mailers to go out for just listed within a 5-mile radius, or you choose a radius. We also use the campaigns dashboard to set up social media ads and pay-per-click ads to not only be in our hyper-local area, but also farm outside to gain more territory.
The way people are shopping for homes has changed. Everything is social, everything is on the phone. So if you can't be on the phone and them have direct access to you as their agent, you're losing. You can tell a real estate agent built this app, and that's what I appreciate. If they find a property within the app and they want to ask about it, it goes directly to you.
It's a really great way of being able to connect with your client if you're using the same platform together, and I can see what they're accessing, what's interesting them, when they're clicking on things, when they're opening things. So it helps me also be more efficient how I'm working with my clients.
With smart plans, I'm allowed to set it and forget it. I don't have to worry about clients falling through the cracks.
It keeps track of things that we wouldn't otherwise think of. My clients' home anniversaries, their birthdays, the things that build that feel-good relationship with your clients, it automates. And so it makes those touches so much easier to keep track of and to make happen.
So what's really neat about Opportunities is that it will track that lead and that business through the process, not just track it in terms of steps, but also the math behind it. Every step of the way, as I get closer to a closing, I'm starting to realize those dollars. And as someone that knows pretty much every CRM out there, I've never seen this before.
For me as a team leader, I use the Opportunities dashboard the most, just looking at the numbers and seeing where we are. Conversion rates,
Average commission, we're tracking what our sales price is.
GCI, probable income, potential income, all those things are things that I'm looking at, and then ways to lead generate, ways to get more listings, ways to get more business within the team.
I can make smart business decisions based on where are we going to spend more money, where are we going to cut back, and it's all right there in one spot.
So like Gary said, when you know the right numbers, hitting the mark becomes the entire focus of the team. And so for us, when we want to know our numbers, we look at the reports dashboard to make sure that we're on track.
I could see what's on my agents' dashboards, but then I could also see how they're interacting. I could see where they're winning. I could see where they're not winning, and I could coach specifically to what it is I'm seeing. If I see a number of appointments being set and a number of appointments being held, but no listings being taken, and I have a tool that exposes that deficiency, what should I be coaching or training around?
Command has simplified our lives on the back end of running a team with a lot of moving parts and pieces and human capital. It's allowed us to go to one place to get the answers that we're looking for in almost every single facet of our business.
The cost per lead is ridiculously low. If I was spending $3,000 before, I can spend like $150 or $200 now. It's been like 95 cents a lead on Command.
One of our CRMs, we were paying as much as $2,000 a month.
I could take the money I was spending on a CRM and I could support another family by hiring somebody full-time into our organization.
We were able to cut our expenses by 50%. So moving to Command was just like a no-brainer. We can save money if we go to a free platform versus paying for one or two, right?
We
We've leveraged the technology within Command and allowed for that to enhance our business.
From A to pay, it just simplified everything.
You could tell that this was made for agents by agents.
What Keller Williams Command does better than any other system out there is it keeps you relevant and it keeps you right in the middle of the transaction, and it doesn't let any detail slip by.
Real estate is about helping people with one of the most fundamental aspects of their lives, home. And you are the expert they turn to. And not just when someone buys or sells, but before, after, and all the little spaces in between. So it can be frustrating when you don't have the time or technology to know when someone needs your help. And when you miss that opportunity, it creates a gap that someone or something else can step into. So let's close that gap and give you the time and technology you need to build high-quality relationships with more people. Let's join forces and demand our technology not replace us, but help us be more human, more present, more everything. Let's take Command. Built exclusively by and for Keller Williams agents, Command is your do-it-all, do-it-quickly, people-centric, less stress, more time, end-to-end platform to grow your relationships, your pipeline, and your market share. Whew! Luckily, using it is a lot easier than explaining everything it does, but let's give it a try. Organize, customize, and sync all your contacts. Group them however you want. Know exactly who to reach out to, when, and about the things they really care about. Send personalized neighborhood-centric just-in-time marketing materials in a snap. Have more conversations, build more relationships, earn more business. Say, "Hey Kelly," and escape from your desk in the office. Add a new contact, log notes, and sync everything while on the go. Seamlessly and transparently source, send, and manage referrals through one of the world's largest and most profitable referral networks. Deploy an ROI-maximized ad campaign across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter in like 30 seconds. Integrate the systems and tools you already use every day. Automate paperwork and background tasks. Access real-time revenue projections, end-to-end ROI insights, and goal tracking to get a bird's eye view of your business. Have more conversations, build more relationships, earn more business. Command empowers you to be a better agent by giving you more time, more value, and more freedom. And best of all, it ensures you and your relationship with your clients remain at the heart of real estate, where you belong.
We don't get it right all the time. Nobody does. Sometimes we fail, but we fail forward. A couple years ago, we started reworking the Command app. We discovered that we had real AI all along. Agent intelligence. You told us what we did wrong, so we could work to make it right. And the only way to truly get it wrong is to give up. But we didn't give up. We hired the best to make the best. We kept building for you. We broke it down, we beefed it up. We went mobile, baby. And now that it's ready, we're not finished. Let our competitors say pencils down. It's not just about where we are, it's about where we're going. And we'll keep building the platform to go anywhere that you want to go. More time, more education, more contacts, more connections, more insights, more integrations, more on the go. More simple, more success, more results, more referrals. More leads, more listings, more leverage, more wealth. More human, more often. More MREA. We wrote the book on real estate, and now we've built the tech. A bigger and better network, so you could build yours. We transformed the technology from worry to works, from From bugs to business, from doubt to double down. This is where she who controls the lead controls the industry. Take control of your database. Take control of your leads. Take control of your money. Take back control and take command. This is now an app with a fiduciary interest. An app that makes your fight personal. This is an intuitive real estate machine that learns, corrects, improves, anticipates, just like entrepreneurs. Built for agents, by agents. This is pure Keller Williams, made not just to keep up with you, but make you faster. Take ground, take command. This is the place, and this is the technology, built for entrepreneurs to thrive. We did more than make it right. We made it us. Onward.
Whether you're a leader or agent, KW Command enables you to manage and grow your business through one powerful integrated platform.
A typical agent spends more than 60% of their time away from their desk. That means you have to be able to take your business wherever you go. The Command app makes it possible. When you are on the go, everything you need is right there on your phone.
You can access and manage your contacts, respond to new leads, prioritize daily tasks, and manage your opportunities, all within the Command app. Tasks are the backbone of your day. Within the Command app, you can easily add and manage tasks, then see a clear snapshot of what needs to get done when.
So your to-do list is always up to date and prioritized.
The Command app makes tracking contacts and leads easy. With built-in integrations for texting and calling, including Twilio and WhatsApp, you can effortlessly log a call or text, then instantly view it on your contact's timeline.
There is a reason Command Mobile has a 4.8 out of 5 rating in the App Store.
The Command app makes it easy to build, foster, and maintain relationships with your sphere of influence. You can assign a lead to a smart plan, add tags, and create notes, so you'll always remember what's important to your clients. You can manage your opportunities and always keep your pipeline updated. In-app and push notifications ensure you won't miss out on anything important.
Plus, the app makes it easy to manage read and unread notifications and to set reminders.
You'll always be in the know and ready for action whenever and wherever you get new info, like seeing who's requested a tour or who's inquiring about a property. Like we said, we're serious about helping you thrive.
With the Command app, everything you need is at your fingertips.
Command was created to help entrepreneurs like you thrive. Whether you're a market center leader or agent, KW Command enables you to run and grow your business through one powerful and integrated platform. We built Command around Gary's proven laws of lead generation. Build a database, feed it daily, and communicate with it systematically. It's all about being more human, more often, with more people. We want you to thrive in this market and capture your unfair share of every market. That's why we help you generate more leads for less. Using Command, you can upload your contacts and start a high-impact marketing campaign without spending a dime. You can run targeted ads across media channels, including Google, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, with just one login. In Command, you can create one-off listing campaigns or always-on recruitment programs with push-button ease. No marketing expertise required. You'll do in 9 minutes what used to take 9 hours. And at less than $3 a lead, you'll pay a fraction of what everyone else in the industry is paying. Save time, save money. Sold. Like we said, we're serious about helping you thrive. For streamlined lead gen, it's all right there. Friends, it's time for you to take command. Jason Abrams here. Everyone knows that I love to talk. It's a gift, but I also love to listen. We're having conversations with the best and the busiest. The biggest personalities making the biggest impact. The craziest and the coolest. It's about passion, strategy, and above all, it's about real, tangible success. This is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Podcast, available anywhere you get your podcasts.
you very much. We appreciate all the efforts. I know it's been flooded in the other areas, but still you're here to join us. However, we will guarantee that your time here will not be wasted.
The world is changing globally in terms of the real estate landscape. So
I think we can all agree that change has happened in countries and many industries, and usually the way that change happens is by leadership. Someone has a vision for things to be done a different way and to lead. Really, the mindsets of Keller Williams, I think, is what that leadership demonstrates, and then the agents are then able to model and follow.
The world wants to complicate everything, including our industry. But what I love that you really clarify for me is that this business is ultimately pretty simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. But if we put a person, a tool, or a system in place in our lead generation, person or tool or a system, or even all three in our lead follow-up, so it's systematic and it's always happening, then the ironic thing is that the service of your actual clients goes up. And then you know the business is coming because that's the engine.
In the past, I wasn't really purposeful much. I actually perform or do on a daily basis. But now, since I'm more purposeful, I know at what point be able to hit capper status.
So basically, you are now running a predictive business model.
Yes, that's correct.
Finding a real estate company that could back you up, it will be the most important decision that you would ever make in your entire life.
You don't feel that emotion, you don't feel that inspiration. It's not only that you feed your mind, but then after you finish that conference, you so fed your soul.
Leader is hard. This is what I learned. How can you help? It's not to get angry, it's not get emotion. It's just like you know your own mission and you know your goal. And we are just together equally to make it happen.
If you can hear me, please press 1. If you can hear me, please press 1. All right. Hey, Andy, how are you? Where are you going?
Yeah, good morning, guys and Davis. I just got caught in the Monday traffic, but I'll be there in about 5 minutes. Enjoying you.
Right. Yeah, well, welcome everyone. How many of you are excited for today's session? If you're excited, please press 5. Right.
I'm very excited today because of the guest that we have.
Right. And I don't want to delay any more time because I know he has a lot of content to deliver. He's definitely much more famous than me, Andy. Definitely much more famous than me in the Philippines. I think he's better looking than me. He has a better physique than me. And he has most importantly, he has a better understanding of the market than a lot of people that I've met in the country so far in Philippines. So guys, without further ado, you should know this guy, this person. He is none other than our very own Robert G Sarmiento, a really important key person in the industry, for the real estate industry in Philippines. So Robert, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. I hope I could enlighten you and give you some good view of what to look out for 2025. But beforehand, what I do usually at this time of the year, January normally, is that I give a talk and have everyone analyze their previous year's activities so they can move on and do a better thing for 2025. So it's going to be a mix of that, and together with that, I will then mix the trends that are ongoing, so that you could also navigate yourself to a more successful activity. All right. So I was kind of scared because I'm using a Mac which I'm not very familiar with. So fortunately, this Camilla and Jonathan assisted me. So the slideshow is there, so let's move on with it. So it's titled 2025 Real Estate Outlook, but then again, I have my own thing that I call it Activity Analysis for 2024 and Goal Planning for 2025. Okay, we can move on to the first slide. There you go. So, it's really important to, a lot of brokers, practitioners, salesperson, not only in real estate, they just move on from year to year. The year was passed, and then they just go on and they plan their goals, without really assessing the past. You have to, what went wrong, what went right. All these things have to be factored in order to move on and do successful things. You want to be able to commit yourself to success. That all you do is towards a positive note. All right. So next slide, please. So we are in business for ourselves. Okay, whether you're in insurance, real estate, in trading, whatever, you all have to look at your financial performance. So you have to look at your revenue breakdown. Where did the income come from? In this case, in real estate, we have to analyze. Did it come from my residential deals, commercial, or industrial, or mergers and acquisition? So all these things have to be looked into, and you kind of like always go with where your strength is, where your blessings are. All right. So, I'll go further down later on. I'll have a slide of how my previous year went by. And I always focus on where my blessings are, because that's, and one of the things that I have to add on is like in my 36 years in the business, and it feels like 50 because this is really a passion. I've been a listings person in every transaction that I've done, and I've gathered them all up from 1989, 1990 till current, and 75 to 80% of my transactions, I was the listing broker. That is my blessing. That means probably most likely because I know how to negotiate with the property owner, bring the price to the right price point, and find out, and then move on and share it with the right network too. All right. So next slide, please. So there's just so many in categories. Of course, you got, of course, there's real estate, and this is like a general thing of the industry. So right now, because we've got about 11 thrusts of the government wants where they're focusing in, from healthcare, tourism. There's a cold storage, there's information, IT, BPM, all these things. No, but this is just a basic slide. All right. Okay. So you got a next slide. Okay, next slide, please. So you got to look at your year-on-year growth and identify underperforming areas. In my case, I have numbers. How much did we do on residential? We have houses and lots. We got condominiums. We've got Airbnbs. So we keep track of those. Okay, in houses, where were the deals done? whether in Makati, whether in Pasig, whether in Alabang. Out of those house and lots, were there more in sales or were in leases? Then we move on to the commercial. Were there in buildings? Were there in commercial lots? So we look at this, and if we were underperforming in one particular area, then that's something that always challenges me. Why? We're just not doing something right because others are having a success to it. And one thing this year that I'm focusing on and getting the right people to help me is project selling. It will be a challenge this year, although there are very unique developments out there, particularly outside Metro Manila, that will maintain its viability and will attract the market, right? Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we now go to market trends and demand. So we always evaluate the demand for every property type. Okay. With just the 4 years that I'm looking at, which is pre-pandemic, pandemic, and post-pandemic. In 4 years, so many things have happened. Behavioral patterns of people have changed. I'm here in Boracay now, seen those a lot of foreigners. It's a much better place now, and also I've seen a lot of what do you call this, regulations and laws passed by the government. So there's a lot of structures that were demolished. So this created again new trends again. No, so let's move on to the next slide. All right. So so we analyze the demand for each sector. Land could be, residential lot. There's beach properties, which was really, it really hit the roof from 2020 to 2023. Started consolidating, then correcting. So we are now at consolidation point, especially in the beach sector. For land, it's amazing, the prime villages of Makati, from Dasmariñas, Forbes, Dasma, San Lorenzo, Bel Air, they have maintained their values. Nobody is really the buying has gone down, but the pricing, as far as sellers are concerned, well, I can wait. That's basically their thought, and I always advise my clients, if you don't need to sell, property values always go up. So it's just really a timeline that is considered. So then we move on to the industrial sector. It's been very strong in the industrial sector. The South has favorably been more on an upside, from the Batangas sector to the Laguna, Cavite. We've seen logistics demand. We've seen I'm working now on a data center inquiry, and there's like a 10-hectare thing. So, these things you could actually do research and find out from YouTube, so you can learn what are these things, because it's hard to get into something that you're not familiar with. So there are basic YouTube posts that you can learn from whether it's cold storage, logistics, data center, healthcare, renewable energies. They come in several sectors, from wind power, hydropower, I believe. So there's several. So it's great knowledge to know, and information is really powerful, right? Then commercial, you got the mini malls, you've got the commercial lots, you've got the buildings, and what do you call this? Office spaces, which has really corrected. And I think that's probably the sector that's most affected right now, caused by the hybrid work from home kind of thing. And so, but in return, there's a trend that developed due to this hybrid. So now you got this flexible workspaces, so those things, so as I said, this talk will also is a mix of what's going on and what trend it created. All right. Lastly, residential. Gosh, condominiums have been hardly hit. Rockwell, for instance, the luxury condominiums, Shangri-La, Aurelia, the development there, the suites, Ayala's Serendras, they have really, and Arthurland too, the Arias, they have not really gone down. You know, although sales are being done in the mid sector from, let's say, the 3 to 15, 20 million range, studios, one bedrooms, and especially if you're not in the Makati area or BGC, it's a tough sale or just to get rid of, especially those that bought pre-selling during the pandemic. It's pretty hard to unload them now. So if you were to unload them, you gotta probably look at some minor profit if you could, break even, or even take a loss if you really have to unload it, right? But again, the residential sector on the luxury remains very strong. On residential lots in the villages, they have corrected. You know, I mean, Dasma right now is buying at a low of 650 per square. Forbes is at about 575 to 600,000 per square. Reason for that are the lots in Forbes Park are much bigger compared to Dasmariñas. That's why Dasmariñas commands more. But of course, Forbes remains to be the most elite subdivision out there. Corinthian remains the same. Green Hills, strong Chinese community buying. Last deal, 475, close to 500,000 per square. It's holding. There's no correction. All right. Okay. Next slide, please. So you assess shifts in client preferences, sustainable properties, mixed use. So from previous client, let's say that was buying SMDC during the POGO time. You know, he was always an Ayala land investor. So, you know, you really have to analyze your clients and talk to them, right? So he was always a buyer of Ayala land. He had, you know, good appreciation, good returns. And for some reason, when I was offering him some new properties in Ayala, that was a great deal. He said, "Oh, I stopped buying Ayala because SMDC with the POGOs now." This is, you know, way back in, you know, when the POGOs were coming in, 2018, 2019. He was getting, you know, his unit that used to lease out for 25,000 was leasing at 40,000. You know, but of course there were 2 bunker beds, 4 people in there. So, but his returns, his ROI was so much better. So he ended up buying 6 SMDCs in the Bay Area, which is one of the hardest hit locations in Metro Manila, right? As far as condominiums are concerned. Again, you know, assessing shifts in client preferences. So, you know, since there are new trends in the industry, I've also asked my clients or spoke to my clients to shift into different trends. You know, whether they're now in the Airbnbs, you know, we can get good returns. Beach properties, you can get now into the logistics sector, you can get into the industrial sector. Shifting is kind of important, especially if they're in real estate and there's a big demand. The key is having a demand and not having a product that won't have any clients looking for it. Next slide, please. So, okay. So what are the market trends, you know, that I see? And these are clients that I do service. So there's agribusiness. So you see this agricultural land, you know, so aside from being an agricultural land, so people buy agri land and convert into industrial. Although I must say that you have to now consider being very careful on acquisitions as government agencies, BIR in particular, are looking into these transactions. You know, I mean, they say, "Oh, agricultural land, then you're converting into industrial." Wait a minute, you know, maybe we should reconsider what the zonal value or the classification should be. Maybe we should not classify this as agricultural. We should already classify this as industrial. So caveat on those things. You have to be aware. The other one are warehousing. You know, due to a lot of the pandemic, supply chain was really affected. I mean, property, gasolines went up, everything went up. It's a minimum of 25 to 40%. What I used to pay, I do the groceries, so the 3 pieces of carrots that I used to buy for my dogs, right? 3 pieces in Unimart. Yeah, they're easily about $70 now, 70 pesos in Unimart. Of course, it gets cheaper if I go to the market like farmers, right? But it's gone up. But then again, due to this, demand, people are like, especially in agriculture, it's a good thing that the government is now looking at developing more warehouses and stocking up agricultural products because they get they get wasted. All right. So that's another thing to factor in. All right. Next slide. Renewable energy. As I said, there are several. There's the wind, there's solar, there's hydro, there's biomass and geothermal. So of course, each one has their own advantages. You got to find out for yourself, the particular requirements of this select industries. Wind, how much wind do we get in a day? So from an investor's point of view, they look at it, should I invest on wind or solar? Solar, how many hours is the sun out in the day? With the wind, how much is the wind out? 24 hours? What about water or hydro? Is there a continuous flow? When you build a dam, is that continuous? So how much electricity or power can you generate? And of course, that power that you generate, you gotta then store it in a battery thing. So that's, again, all this you gotta understand that with every move that you make here, you gotta assure yourself that you're on top of it, because there's licenses, permits. You got to go to the LGUs of each and every town. So it's not easy. So this is something that you really have to study. But then again, that's a demand. You can see that in the stock market. You can see that in the newspaper. For those that are in my Telegram group, I give out 5-7 news daily that really matters in the industry, because you just don't look at the news just superficial. What does that news mean, especially in our trade in real estate? All right, real estate also. So the demand for local. We've seen that there was an article written that the cause of this oversupply is developers building the wrong classification, the wrong demand. They were hitting the wrong. They were hitting the luxury. Remember, there's only about less than 10% luxury, and 90% are really on the mass or middle income. And there's not too many developments hitting that range. So now that's really an opportunity for people to realize, gosh, within those range, if I could offer a townhouse, a house and lot in Laguna, and that's why people have been going outside Metro Manila, okay, with the skyrocketing zonal values in Metro Manila, which then would affect the realty taxes. What's the upside already? Okay, old families that used to live in Alabang, in Forbes Park, are now moving to Alabang. During the pandemic, I had a very classic case of a client buying and was able to buy a property in Dasmariñas. In fact, it was locked down, and so it was hard to enter Dasmariñas. So we even signed the contract right in front of San Antonio Plaza. Amazing. That's how the COVID was. Nevertheless, it was done then at 650,000 per square. It's a good street, one of those Campanillas, Carissa. And that was pandemic time. Then post-pandemic came, same client wanted to buy. So I showed him again two other properties, again in those inner streets. And again at 650, which he started resisting then. Post-pandemic, people became price sensitive. So I told him, well, you know what? I would go Alabang if I were you. And so we did. I showed him several properties. He ended up buying 2 properties at 200,000 per square meter. Okay, Alabang peaked at 250, corrected, so it's now 200 to 220 at that one. For the good located properties, I got perimeter properties are ranging 165 to about 180,000 per square. All right, so that's a trend also right there. It's real estate, whether it's Airbnb, what do you call income producing properties, warehousing. So that trend is there. Next slide, please. I'm sorry if I'm talking fast, but that's really me, but stop me or send me a note if I'm talking too fast. All right. E-commerce, you've seen Lazada, Shopee, so it's really online kind of thing, so this created that big demand. And I think there's still enough room for new companies to come in. All right. Then we've got fintech, finance technology. We got, I guess everybody knows one of the most successful of them, Gcash. Okay, there's PayPal. So, people just want to pay and online, although I'm one that's very particular and actually it freaks me out to do online. I'm just scared of being scammed. And I've been already hacked twice. Good thing that the bank that I was working with on my credit card was able to reverse the charges. Next slide, please. Well, COVID created a huge demand. COVID when it hit us, we were, what was this? It was something really new, and that created a demand for healthcare. All right. So when you do healthcare, you got hospitals, you got pharmacies, you got dialysis centers, you got anything connected to healthcare. From vitamins. This created even things that are into health products. I look at Pilates, that also created that trend, yoga and all that. So everybody got into like not everybody, but most did get into health, right? And that was really a concern. There's a big room for that. I got servicing a private equity fund now that's buying brand products, whether it's restaurants, healthcare, if there's a hospital, that's a pharmacy. They're looking into those things. No? Next are industrial parks. The demand is there. I tell you, we have, aside, it comes to our industrial demand, office spaces. One thing that we could be that it's really a big factor for the Philippines is we have low labor costs. Okay, hopefully it will go up in the future, for the good of our the Filipinos. But for now, that's a strong ingredient for us, for other countries to look at us. So that's why the industrial park remains very strong. In fact, some companies out there, Aboitiz in particular, there's the Ichi Properties, Megaworld has done some, Ayala has already in Pampanga, and I think they'll be expanding more. So there will be more and more of this industrial, because they will carry with this industrial. They will have logistics in there. They'll have and others, from warehousing also. Next slide, please. IT-BPM, that's a given case. Our call center and IT-BPM is just will remain very strong. The challenge there is bringing it back to the office, rather from the work from home or hybrid or workplace, right? Somehow productivity is really affected when it's work from home. And there's nothing like being right there in the office. So hopefully, and that will also be good for the developers who develop all these buildings. So of course, they're in a bit of crisis right now because a lot of vacant units, and it's a good time to get in there. And there are 4 major areas that remain very in the radar of most IT-BPM and other multinationals, and that's BGC, Makati, which is now going through a renovation, or they're rebuilding. Greenbelt 1 is done, is already been demolished. Okay, so you got Makati, BGC, you've got the MOA area, and you've got the Alabang. Those are the four that would remain strong as far as the office sector and the IT BPM. That's where the people looking at. Okay, all right. Although I see also that Clark, which has all the right infrastructures in there, is still not in the radar of most. Apparently, the cost is, people are waiting for the monorail transportation that will bring them from the Balintawak, Quezon City, Metro Manila area, all the way up to Clark. So that's the missing factor for most, right? In fact, we got people that bought industrial land in Bulacan, Pulila, and the others, and they still haven't built, waiting for the monorail or for the trains to be ready. All right, logistics. Gosh, so again, this a trend was developed, came about due to the pandemic. So we got, of course, deliveries on supermarket products, and it will continue on, that logistics of deliveries. So there's so many of them out there, from let's say cold storage is also one. Food, you got the Grab, you've got Lala Move, you got Mr. Speedy. So all this, so even now we've got rather than Grab, people are going for Angkas, where they ride a motorcycle. My staff do that. So, of course, but it's a bit dangerous. But then again, that's another trend to look at. Next slide, please. Cold storage, huge demand. All right. In fact, I ate at a Japanese restaurant early on, right, post-pandemic, and I was just kind of disappointed because when the sashimi came out, it wasn't as fresh. So you see products that were not in the frozen section of supermarkets, SNR, Unimart, Landmark. One of this is Barrio Fiesta. They're crispy pata, crispy pata in the cold section, and it's there. So now you got, if you look at the frozen section of the supermarket, you now have all this ready-made food where you just heat it up. They're from binagoongan to adobo to pasta to carbonaras. They're all there. But before they get there, there's the commissary. From the commissary, it has to move to a cold storage. Even general lechon, I've seen, we've done it. Water supply. So of course, water has got to be not necessarily be in the cold storage, but what I'm saying is, like, they have to be in the logistics sector, or they have to be in the warehousing also. But going back to the cold storage, oh gosh, I've seen, by the way, when it comes to cold storage, one product that is a challenge is onions. Cold storage companies don't like onions, although there's a few that would take them. All right. On the right side is it's a workplace. It's a mix. So you lease a space for 5,000 a month. This is available at 8 Rockwell. Regis is one of the more popular companies that's doing this now. And you get your coffee, you got your business center in there, you pay 5,000 a month, and it's a trend. Rather than spending 40,000, 60, 100,000, and people are working from home, this is the place to, this is where the action is right now as far as office sector is concerned. Next slide, please. Construction materials with infrastructure. Gosh, obviously, as so many have gotten into construction supplies, and the list goes on, from sand and wood, nails, all that. And again, all this need warehousing. But then again, that's again a trend, the construction. That's why there's also a lot of construction companies out there bidding for businesses from the government and from private private companies. All right. Then this is something that's also very important. Also, although it's a very specialized field, cybersecurity is still growing. I mean, it's still, I think, at a very, very infant stage. In fact, I'm a victim. I was hacked 3 times, and then I tell you, these hackers are very, very good. So when in doubt, you don't know who that nice Instagram person trying to get hold of you, saying hi, play safe, ignore it, delete. Okay, that's the best way. All right. Next slide, please. So identifying emerging hotspots, so we know now the trends. So, but with the trends, where are they heading? Where's the action? Where should you land bank? Especially for investors, because right now I had clients early on in the pandemic, and fortunately I was able to get my pass. We were selling lots, CLOA, certificate land of ownership by the farmers, right? CLOA. So at that time, this titles, which was given by the government to farmers, you have to hold it for 10 years, and after that, there's a process of you being able to sell that so it can be titled, and so then you can sell it to another person already. Okay, but people were apprehensive. It was unknown to a lot of them. All right, but we were selling then at Luisita Access Road, which is it's like a Pasong Tamo, very commercial, because you drive in, you exit from Exitex, go to Luisita Access Road, and then about a kilometer, 2 kilometers, there's Luisita Industrial Park, and the whole area that's been hanging in there for quite some time. So that's where Ayala bought, and you have to go inside to get into the industrial and the commercial land or lots that Ayala was selling, which was then selling at 45,000 per square. It's titled, it's with Ayala, but it's inside the Ayala complex. This one is right on the main road, and we were selling then at 1,700 per square meter, CLOA. All right, and the lots were cut into 6,666 square meters each. So to get a good frontage, sometimes you have to get 2 to get at least a 30-meter frontage or so. But anyway, fast track today, that 1,700 is now 7,500 per square. So I had clients that said, I should have listened. Well, that's the past, but opportunities are there, and that's why I'm gonna give you this emerging hotspots and where to go. All right, next slide, please. Batangas. Gosh, if you have never driven, or if you haven't driven to Batangas lately, I guess they got one of the most developed bypass roads. It's like so many. They cut through just the shortcuts, going to Calatagan, going to Batangas City. It cuts down travel time so much, and the roads are really wide and well done. And the thing is, you also have to look at what's the trust of the government of Batangas. In this case, government Mandanas has got a good plan for investors, giving incentives, tax incentives, and that sort of thing. So you have to factor that in. Why? And are they developing now? Because there are some developers wherein they sell a development, but activity happens 2-3 years later on. So there's you're stuck. There's nothing really happening, right? Batangas is not one of them. It's really moving. Hotspot, Bacolod. You haven't heard much of it, but there's already land banking by major developers. I'm in the stock market, and I don't suggest it for most. It's as it's a, I've lost quite a bit, but just on the stock market, you'll see the reports coming in from Cole Financial, Phil Stocks, PSE. You'll see what Ayala's doing, where they're land banking, and all the other 30 index stocks. So you know where the market is moving, whether it's renewable energy, what areas they are investing, what Ayala has done. Are they investing only in logistics? Are they in healthcare? Are they in cold storage? So you will see. So it's very good informative stuff, that's there. Okay. Next slide. Cebu, gosh, and Japanese people sometimes fly in to Cebu and don't even fly to Manila. That's how good Cebu is. I think it's been run very well. In fact, they wanted to be I don't know independent from the Philippines, but Cebu boasts of very good infrastructure, good governance, and so much going in there. And it has gone up, but there's so much still, especially with that development of that new bridge, which has to be seen. I will be traveling there within the next month or so to give you more talk. Today, I'm still in Boracay. I will give a detailed analysis and talk of what's going on in Boracay, the new developments, who's selling, the new laws and regulations here. Davao, gosh, another very hot spot. Of course, again, there's a port in there, and of course, Duterte has a lot of connections in there, whether it's Duterte or the government of Davao, but it's very strong in there. And again, developments in condominiums, industrial parks are very strong outside Metro Manila. There was a talk that we had recently given by Joey Bondoc of Colliers, and he said, okay, look at the take-up of condominiums, let's say in Metro Manila for a certain developer. It was 20% take-up. In comparison, that same developer had a project in Lipa, and it sold out. So that just tells you where the market is. What's the sentiment? You have to understand the sentiment of people, and you have to write and go with it. Next slide, please. Iloilo. Wow, I've been there. Mega World is there a lot. There's a lot of BPOs going on in there, and it's still, gosh, it's on a scale of 10. Iloilo, I think, is still at around 3.54. So there's still so much more. In comparison, when you look at BGC, as far as maturity of development is concerned, BGC is already at a 9. So it's like having somebody that's already at third-year college. All right. So you will look at investments where you want to get them where they're still in grade school or, early on in high school. You can still see a good upside on that. Clark, Pampanga, unknown to most, is it's been very quiet. It's not really out in the paper. But one obvious fact that you will see if you're driving by NLEX, the signboards never said Tarlac. Now there's already Tarlac in there. You got SCTEX and all this new signages, but Tarlac is there. It was never there before. All right. So again, for most also confused or not aware that Clark Green City is located in Capas, Tarlac, although people still, consider it at Clark, Pampanga. All right. So in fact, there are still some pogos in there. All right. Good pogos that pay taxes. And I think that's still going to continue to grow. All right. Next slide, please. There you go. Clark Green City. A lot of it is unknown. In fact, I'm looking for a 1,000 square meter office space for a BPO, IT BPM company. I still have to connect, and I know that Philinvest is in there, but I'm still not aware of who else to call, whether it's Double Dragon or what. So again, information is so valuable. Who to talk to, and so you can get to your goal, right? So it's been 2 weeks. I still have not made that offer. That's a no-no in our industry. 48 hours, got to get back to your client. Other than that, they'll start calling for someone else. Okay, next slide. Well, the declining area obviously is the MOA, because that's where most of the POGOs went. So the SMDCs. I was recently at an Ayala Mall. Gosh, so many restaurants have closed. But then again, it's an opportunity. In every crisis and every downside, there's always an opportunity to look into. All right. Okay. Next slide. So client-based analysis, client segment. So I'm one of the few brokers that really does the whole line, from residential, commercial, industrial, and then you have to analyze each of them. So this residential clients, where are they? Where are they investing? Are they still continuously investing in certain subdivisions? Do they still go with Dasmariñas, or are they now looking at Alabang? For those that are in Metro Manila, obviously, they're looking for their children, and their children, where do they go? They now go to the New Valley area, where, by the way, just to give you some facts, in 2000, Bel Air, San Lorenzo were at 35,000 per square. Today, they're at 400 to 450,000 per square meter. 2025. All right. New Valley is at 35 to 50,000 per square. All right. Of course, Ayala West Grove is anywhere from 50 to 85,000 per square. That depends on the phase that you're at. So the 85,000 per square are the ones that are overlooking Metro Manila. All right. But just to give you a timeline, so it's 25 years. Gosh, that's the appreciation. Okay. So you have to know and place and where to place your clients and give them those options, because you have to be the one informing them, because they're not, most of them are not in the know, in spite of the fact that we got all this online and data information and the internet, right? Investors likewise, are they still getting the returns that they were having? Condominiums, gosh, with the skyrocketing per square meter, our lease rates were always at 1,000 pesos per square. Meaning, if you had a 50 square meter one bedroom times 1,000, that would be 50,000 a month, right? So that price range of 1,000 pesos per square has maintained its price. In the meantime, the purchase acquisition then was at 120 to 150, and that has gone up now to 400, 450,000 per square, up to 650. So, the numbers aren't right. The yields are not right. So where do you go in order to get your yields, right? And the proper yield right now, you're lucky to get 5%, 6%, and just hope for a good capital appreciation, right? Okay, next slide, please. So lead generation, analyze your sources in the social media and online platforms, all right? So we do get a lot of our leads from carousel, from referrals. There's Lamudi. And of course, for me, I think one of the things I'm going to go back to, because it's still a given market, is going back to print ads, which is Manila Bulletin. It's really dwindled down. It's probably it's only a 2-pager now. It used to be 8-pager for classified ads. Nevertheless, the older clientele is still looking at Manila Bulletin, and so are their children. Okay, there's still that niche, and you still want to grab that niche, no matter how small it is. Just like you're grabbing that small niche in BGC for the condominiums, and small niche also in the prosceniums and the Rockwells. It's always a buying price when there's in fact lack of availability is going on in Rockwell. It's not surprising, especially when you go to the 2 and 3 bedrooms. But the studios and the 1 bedrooms, again, those are the 3 to 20 million range. That is really where the issue is an oversupply, right? Okay. Then networking. I provided networking events back in 2018 to have everybody meet and enhance their businesses, and it's been quite successful. We're going on our 12th event this coming March with good speakers. Again, I always try to get the good speakers. So practitioners, real estate brokers, salespersons, and even clients, investors are advised on what direction to take and to be aware of what's going on. I just don't have enough time today, but we just recently had another BIR issue that was not supposed to be vatable and became vatable because of one issue, but that's another story for another day. Next slide, please. So we go through carousel. I think carousel would probably be about, on a scale of 100%, that probably generates maybe around 15% of our leads. Most of our leads are probably about 35% from referrals. And there's a way of asking for those referrals, because if you don't ask them, you won't get them. But of course, it's not easy to just say, can you give me a client, a friend of yours that may be interested. So there's a right way of asking, Then you got those platforms. Facebook is probably 20%. Okay, but the Facebook ads are kind of not easy, because you gotta still do the algorithms yourself. That's why there's this platform being offered by Keller Williams, which it's the best I've seen so far, and I highly recommend that. Because we were going through an AI thing. I was supposedly going to be developing something with a Japanese firm, with another associate. So it was about a year pre-pandemic, So I was thinking of all it was going to be a portal with an AI thing, and by the time that it was almost done, pandemic hit, and then it just fizzled out. Although it's still there, so. But then again, new things arose. And so it's something that has to be redone again if I'm still going to continue that, But then again, there's so many platforms out there. So some get success in, there's good success with IG. Instagram's probably maybe about 10%. You may not get the sale. I have a great example of a good ad that I had. It was a reel. And so somebody took a look at it and gave me a list. It gave me a property listing, which I sold, and it was pretty sizable. So strange things can happen, But then again, you gotta be out there and being the face of people, right? LinkedIn is something that's, for me, I have not used it much, but a lot of people say that I must. Because again, these are the behavioral patterns post-pandemic. People answer more or are more into emails, LinkedIn, and online platforms. All right, that's a fact. All right, next slide, please. So marketing effectiveness, so your campaign, assess the ROI on social media, and what are you getting? I mean, are you just engaging? Are you, because it's like a baseball field. You get to base 1, you get an inquiry. You get to base 2, you get a property viewing. You get to base 3, you start negotiating, and you get to the home plate, and you make a sale. So it's the same thing. Other than that, it's just wasted activity. But of course, nothing is a wasted activity, because you gotta learn. You gotta learn from every activity that you have. That's important, because yesterday's viewing, what was, you must have learned something. Did Did you talk more than your client did? If you did, then that's a problem, because you're supposed to have your client talk more than you do. You're supposed to probe, you're supposed to ask. The more you ask and the more you probe, the more they realize that you are genuinely concerned about their needs. All right. Okay. So assess the ROI. I mean, again, going back to this Keller Williams platform, okay, it was clearly stated to me, and I understand it this way. I posted Facebook, right? I spent 3,000. So I do the demographics, the age of the people, and that sort of thing. So 3,000. So I post one ad. And what do I get? Zero. Nothing. Okay. Now, this platform that Keller Williams offers will now, they've already figured out the algorithm. Meaning, when when you get into their program and you want to post it to Instagram, or you want to post it to Facebook, it has its algorithm. So chances are, for my 3,000, okay, I will get immediately on my first post, I will probably get 5 or 6 already. So your cost per advertisement goes down. If it will take me 6, 7, 10 times to get an engagement on my own with their platform, it will cost me less. So instead of paying, like, let's say, $10 or 10 pesos for an ad, it will probably just cost me 25 cents, 50 cents with the Keller Williams program. It's something that I'm really looking into. I'm very interested in it. I've never, it's something that really is aligned to what I've been looking for. All right. Okay. Traditional advertising, events, networking, we've been doing that. Your brand visibility, of course, like there's Remax out there, there's Keller Williams out there. So you measure, how are you taking advantage of using that brand? Because brand is so effective. Okay. In fact, one of our speakers for March is one guy that is really a guru on branding. He just didn't make it last October, due to some family issues, but he's going to be there in March, right? Partnerships. So we in our business, we network with a lot of networks. We share our listings. We talk to them. So we evaluate, all right? Okay. If we keep giving a particular listing or several listings, so we create a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group or a Viber, which you lose your data in 3 days. So that's why I'm very careful with Viber. If I get it at Viber, I move it to Telegram right away, and it stays there forever. I don't lose it. Anyway, so we evaluate. Let's say I go to Mr. X. And Mr. X, I've given him, continuously provided him our requirements, provided him our direct listings, and I've had no reply from him. Meaning, we're not meeting eye to eye, or his requirements doesn't match with mine. So what do? We just simply X him out, because there's no network in there. He's not going out of his way. And that's another thing that brokers have to realize. Just because it's not your direct listing doesn't mean you should not work it. If it's sellable, you should work it. We have a saying in the office. We always work the property or the client that will close fastest. So that is always assessed. What's happening? What was the viewing? What happened in last week's viewing? Are they making an offer? Was the offer accepted? How's the, so we analyze the status of the property owner. We analyze the status of the client that's inquiring. So that you get a good feel, and that's where your negotiation comes in. That's where your your mediation comes in, because we are basically mediators in our real estate transactions, right? Okay. So that's how it is. Some have been very successful, being a Rockwell or a Ayala land broker, brought them recognition. They're known for that, and so that's a big thing. So you got to work with successful developers, which also people look at you and, oh, he does Ayala. And I love Ayala. So that works well. All right. Next slide, please. Team and operations. Obviously, I'm a small operation. All right, but my network is huge. So rather than what other franchises do, Remax, Keller Williams, or the others, I create a team. I got my staff, but we network closely with other networks. So there's no, they don't have to go to my office. We just simply exchange listings and really converse. Because without that relationship, it's not the same. So that's why we make sure that we establish this relationship. And these relationships are established by, first, I created the networking groups. Yeah. Two, I created our Christmas parties, okay, which we had our last hurrah last Christmas, and people are still clamoring, last hurrah? Well, I don't know. Let's see what happens. But relationship is so important in the business, because if you're not getting anywhere with this particular person, this individual, this network, then it's a waste of time. You have to value your time. You have to get results. Other than that, then you got to pivot and move on, right? Okay. So what are the team contributions? Are they in my staff? Okay, just there's 3 of them, right? So they're all divided into several sectors. So I got Lourdes Mel that handles the residential commercial. I got Mercy that handles the industrial, some of the other listings like the townhouses, and even in the high-end residential also, and Chini, which does the condominiums, the retail, and also the mergers and acquisitions and the club shares, right? So they all have their own specialization, all right? So I see their contributions. I see what is new business. We do a lot of telemarketing because since we are a listings company, we're in, most of our transactions are really we are the listing broker. So we go out of our way to find those listings. So we have a lot of want to buy. I ask from my Telegram group of clientele, I ask for properties being sold, club shares being sold, and so that's how we get properties and listings, and then we share them out. And I'm not one that is very particular about sharing. Again, the most important thing in our business, and it's in our code of ethics, is that it's most important person is our clients. All right. So I'm not gonna go on like be strict on sharing of fees. If there's like 4 others, as long as we have a win-win situation wherein I get a bulk of it, maybe 30%, 35%, get the deal done, and the other 4 would have their fair share. It's got to be a win-win situation, whatever that formula is. But the thing is, it's servicing the client and reaching the objective that matters. Okay, that's so critical, because some think about what they're going to make and not prioritizing the client, and I think that is not too good for the industry. All right. There are so much deals to happen if you could just, and with those, let's say in our business, there's what we call the 40-20-40, meaning the list, if there's 3 brokers involved, the listing broker gets the 40, the mediator, the one that tied the listing broker to the buying broker gets 20, and then the buying broker gets the 40. So it's 40-20-40. But the thing is, what? Sometimes, some are just keen on getting 50-50. And next thing you know, just because of 10%, they lose the deal. I've seen it happen. And that's the way it is. Identify training needs and operational bottlenecks. So where are we? And I do a talk. I call my staff 2 to 3 times a day, asking them where we're at, where anything that they need from me, what's been followed up. Do I need to call anybody? So we're really into it. I mean, communication is a must, and so there's also, in our Telegram group, I have several criteria, whether it's follow-up clients, we have telemarketing, we have our RGS to do groups. So everything's so organized, and organization is key. So when an operational bottlenecks, we have a Telegram group that's purely telemarketing. I see a signage in Forbes. I saw some signages here today in Boracay, for sale. So it goes to telemarketing, and I checked it out. And so sometimes that's our bottleneck, because what happened to that listing that I want? I want that. I need that. And it's 3 days delayed already. So that's a bottleneck. And then I realized, of course, there's always a reason why, and I'd like to know. So I ask whoever that person's in charge of telemarketing, how come this has not been done? And so more often than not, it's an oversight, but they are also busy with doing other things. But then again, you have to stay on top of it. It's a process. It's a you got to be so organized, right? Okay. Review internal systems for efficiency. So I just want to see, okay, where are we? We had our goals. We meet every Monday. We figure out what happened last week. So where are we going this week? And Fridays again, we review what we've done for the past week, and we plan for the following week. It's got to be that way, or no way. Next slide, please. Strategic insights. All right. Okay. Am I still doing time? Maybe I'm talking too much. All right. So I'd love to do stories and just experiences with strategic insights. Next slide, please. Well, for most that are in business, you understand SWOT analysis of businesses. No? So in this case, you've got to know the internal strength and weaknesses of the business. So what are the strength? Gosh, we've got the world, is turning towards Asia. Investments are coming in here. In fact, if it wasn't for our political polarity, it's so polarized, we would have had so much investors already in here. But I just hope that turns out good. But say there were 80 pledges, or so many pledges that were done, and out of that, maybe about 15% only really came in the renewable energy and in warehousing. And there's still so much. If we could just fix our act, all this government people, no? All right. Where's our weaknesses? There's our weaknesses right there. It's our political thing. And that's why we've been, people have chosen to go to Vietnam, and they've gone to Indonesia, they've gone to Malaysia. All right. External opportunity. So again, what's happening? We have this infrastructures, road infrastructures, airport, ports, which just brought supply chains to a better range, right? So we have to understand and take advantage and to advise our clients about these opportunities. Okay, there's a new road now. With that new bypass road, there's going to be land bank there. Let's buy a property there. There's Ricky Razon that is doing a industrial park or zone in Kawit, Cavite. So have something to look into. If he's there, then obviously there's going to be a streamline of good businesses coming in there. Have we land bank there? So these are things that you have to look at. Davao, Bacolod, those emerging cities, no? So you have to understand, where the infrastructure developments are. Okay, foreign investments, where are they investing? What are they investing into? IT BPM, maybe that's still something to get into. All right. And then of course, tourism. I think tourism is really key. I got a call from a foreign group now looking into building some hotels in this emerging destination places, right? Next, and then threats. Okay, well, that's the thing with the Philippines, right? It's our burden most of the time, and the client's burden. Zonal values go up, new rulings by LGU that was not even publicized, and next thing you know, it's there. Same thing with BIR. There's got to be some transparency. I mean, what does it take for these government agencies to put out a circular in the newspaper? Well, they do sometimes, but they should do it more often. There's a new regulation that now, if you are doing a TIN number, do not ever put that you're in real estate, because if you put in real estate, then every deal that you have will be valuable. So these are information that has to be given to people, right? But we need that. All right. So these are real good threats, and that's actually affecting the industry. Policy changes. Sometimes they just change a policy without, at the flick of a finger, without any hearings or so. Okay. So you got to think ahead as brokers. We got to anticipate and anticipate the worst. So we got to be one step ahead of these government agencies. Next slide, please. Key learnings. Success to replicate. Interviewing, you're there, you're waiting for your client. And what's good to do is look at while you're waiting. Of course, you're preparing yourself, how to show the property and what, and how to talk. And one thing that's very important is to look back at your previous successful deals. It keeps, what's the effect of that? When you look at, okay, I'm waiting for your client. Then you look at your last deal that was so successful, it went so smooth and all that. It gives you a positive thing. It's just there. So when the client comes, you're upbeat. Spend 10 minutes at the least. Get that rapport. Because some, when they arrive, hi, Mr. Santos, here's the property, they go in right away. No rapport. You got to dig in. Where have you been? How long did it take you? Where'd you come from? Where'd you find us? How's your interest level? Those things, you want to probe into them. You want to show that you're genuinely interested in servicing their needs. But you have to realize, what are their needs? And it's through probing, and it's through this 10, 15-minute talk before you even show the property. For all you know, they've already seen the property through online. So when you're viewing the property, you come inside the house. There's no need for you to say, this is the living room. Obviously, it's the living room. And it's better like, asking them, how do you like the space? Is this big enough? Where do you plan to put your, if you do, if things work out, do you plan to change the paint? Do you like pastel colors? How big are your furnitures? These are questions that you could ask. Probing again, genuinely asking, their needs. All right. So again, success to replicate. Look back at your previous successful deals, and that will just give you a positive thing. Mistakes to avoid. Well, obviously, we all make mistakes, and failure is a very critical ingredient to success. I've had so many failures in my life, and I may probably continue to have some more. But of course, I'm more careful now, turning 65 this year, and it's been there, done that. But really, there's a saying, it's better to learn from other people's mistake. But given the human nature, we're so hard-headed. we just do it anyway, so we make that mistake. We could have learned it from somebody else. So listen, all right? Listen to what other experiences are and grasp it and learn from that and hopefully apply it. Next slide. So planning for the new year 2025, this year. So I tell you, with our activities, so with these things that I do and the daily communication with our staff, providing good incentives, we feel like we are already in March. We had a very good January, which is a spillover of December. In December, there were 3 closings right before Christmas, and that I'll tell you later on how that happened and what particular sector, so, but planning, what's that saying? Most people fail to plan or something of that sort. No, but I'll pass on that. Next slide, please. So market focus, prioritize property types with the highest potential. So you must know where are the highest potentials. If it's hot if the project sellings are hot, ride the wave. If the tourism is hot, ride the wave. If Alabang is there, if New Valley is there, industrial parks are there, ride the wave. Because at least your time is devoted to a more successful or more probability of success. Okay, explore untapped areas or sectors. So for myself, I haven't been doing offices, but gosh, with this, I think it's an open field now. It's not really controlled by, it still is controlled by a few multinational companies or companies, but I think, the market is kind of like looking at several. So, several brokers now. There are a few ones that I am very proud to. I'm just very proud of how they've done, and one of them is Top Realty. They've gone quite a long ways. There are others that are coming up also, and I don't think I need to mention them. They know who they are, but it's being aggressive in this market. All right, okay, but then again, untapped sectors. Office is something that I have not done, and project selling. So those are the two that I will definitely explore this year. All right. It will just add more to the business because the other sectors we're already good at, we're strong already. Next slide, please. Marketing strategy, allocate budget based on previous ROI analysis. So, when I did Carousel last year, we spent 25,000 for like so many ads. I have my staff do that. We see, so how much, what was the return on investment, based on that? Did I, with probably if I did 25,000 there, it's now 35, by the way, it's gone up. Okay. But with a 25, I think we were able to do maybe about 10 deals from Carousel. 8 deals, but it paid more than enough. I mean, if it was 2 million that we made from those ads, as income compared to the 25,000, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? So those are things that you have to factor in and think. What budget? In fact, this year I asked them, okay, where else can I go? All right, and that I have not explored Lamudi in a long time, and so I'll probably also explore Lamudi, and put a budget in there myself also. All right, diversify campaigns across digital and traditional channels. So that's just what I said. Plan networking events and partnerships. We've been doing the networking events, and I'm very proud to say that we've helped a number of brokers, and they too have helped us. Okay, because every networking event, I meet new people, I learn from our speakers, so it's a give and take thing. Again, I do this, and it's a thankless job. It's a thankless thing. I mean, I do it out of the goodness of my heart, just to alleviate, to alleviate the real estate industry and help out the careers of and enhance the careers of our networks. No, at the same time, make more money, and which therefore, of course, before making the money, it's help comes. So we love to help our clients, and that's how it all starts, right? Okay, so partnerships. I go out of my way to have coffees with select networks. So, being business for quite some time, we know who the deal makers are. We know who are the ones that have the good clients, that listen to them. They're the sole brokers of this big clients. So I take the time out to really develop a relationship with them. And I'm honest, we're here to do business, but more than that, I love the companionship. I love the relationship. And then the business follows. All right. So next slide, please. Technology and tools. Integrate tools like CRM for better client management. So there are several. There's Monday.com. There's so many others. I just work with. I started off 36 years ago. There were no books on real estate. Now you see this young millennials with books, and they make their millions from these books, which I still haven't done. But the only book then that I read was Donald Trump, Art of the Deal. And what it taught me was to have to be proud of myself. That's all. But, it took me 2 years to understand the Filipino psychology, because Filipinos are different. Notice in your viewings, when you are with your foreigners, they'll tell you, "Oh, Robert, I don't like that corner. I don't like that bed. I don't like this." But when you're viewing with a Filipino, nothing. They keep hum. They don't say anything. Then at the end of the viewing, I'll call you. That's Filipinos. So I had learned that the hard way. Took me 2 years before I understood, and I found a way of how to get it out of them. All right. So again, going back to CRM, gosh, you should take a look at what Keller Williams. I'm not saying this because they're sponsoring this, but really it's something worth looking into. All right. It's as I said, I used to have like a, if you're in the hospital, the nurse comes in, there's a chart, and then they at 3 a.m., they gave a medicine, and at 6 a.m. another nurse comes in. So there's a ongoing activity. And that's the same thing how I started with a 5x7 index card. I got the client name, his requirement, his phone number, his email. And then at the back, I offered him day 1, I offered him Essenza. Day 2, I was able to get a viewing. think about it. So it's all there. And then I put it in a box that I used to get from National Bookstore. It was 57 pesos then. And then I have my 4x6 index card. So that's how I do. So I had the offer, follow-up, calls, and others, and there are others that are like really have this impossible dream of acquiring a property. I'd like Forbes Park at 10 million. So obviously these are like dreamers. So I just put them at the back. Nevertheless, they are future probable clients that probably have a property to sell. All right. Okay. Leverage data analytics for marketing forecasting. So we look at the calls that are coming in, where they're coming in, how many, when, what time, male, female. So we really look at those things in order to do the analytics. All right. As I said, I'm very OC, so that we know where to target, who to target, when to target. Okay. What in marketing. Next slide, please. I've seen this, I did some talks with Remax. So go back, please. Team something. Can you go back? Yeah, team development. Very important. Schedule trading on market trends, because not all are aware. So, and I admire Remax Prime with Paulo Villavicencio. I've done 2 talks with them. Great group of guys there. And they have regular training meetings, so everybody's on top of everything, and they really exchange notes. So they're, so again, communication is there. There's a relationship. There's like a synergy among everybody, and that gets them going, right? And so again, I'm very proud of them for doing this. So they do the negotiation and then the client relations. So they talk about all these things. They got me twice already to speak on several matters. And then, of course, you got to set individual and team performance targets. So in my office, since we're now I've always been giving overrides to my staff. They know that it's all about getting results. Take note, when I hire people, staff with zero knowledge. Why? I don't want any bad habits in there. I want everything they know to come from me. And it's worked out really well. And so they're like 15 years with me. And so I'm highly proud of them. They've been a lot of, there's been several people pirating them, but they maintain their loyalty to me, and we love them like family. So next slide, please. Financial goals. You got to have what do you think? When you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, gosh, when you're at 60, you better be set, because gosh, those those medications are going to come in. You're going to get sick. Your health care. So, I always tell the younger crowds, millennials, or the younger brokers in their 30s are starting out. Save money. You're going to have a kid. Insure them. Because you'll never know. In 10 years, if they're going to develop sickness, and next thing you know, they're going to be uninsurable, that sort of thing. So gosh, so you got to set your revenue. I want to make X amount of millions this year, so that you could then invest that, get your 7 to 10% return, invest in a business, with a side business. But caveat on that, you gotta make sure that you know the people that you're investing with, right? Okay. But set revenue and profit benchmarks. It's gotta be, you look at your previous year, we gotta go 20% more this year. All right. And then we gotta, leverage on who are we dealing with? Maybe you don't need to deal with 40 anymore. Maybe you just, downsize to 20. Just like now in our office, we know that we don't need to send out to too many because there are those that don't reply or never work our listings anyway, but we have a relationship. See, there's two things, you may have a nice relationship as friends, but there's another relationship as business. So you got to define, because some just don't, just won't work your listings because they too have their own great listings, right? So rather than waste your time giving it to them, it's find those networks that will work your listings or that are willing to work with you and communicate with you, right? Develop strategies to optimize cost. So for me, really is in fact, productivity is actually cost. So what I've done, prior to the pandemic, I rather than the 9 or 8 o'clock, I had my staff come in at 7:30, and they're out at 3 o'clock. So ahead of the traffic going in and ahead of the traffic going home, they got a life. I trust them. They know, it's got to that point that they know what needs to be done, and they're very efficient. So fast track post-pandemic, what have I done? So we know that, there's work from home, and there are like, their children are growing up, 3 years old, they get sick, they're absent and all that. So, but one thing I've done is that every Friday is their work from home, because Friday is crazy with traffic. And I'd rather that they're productive, because not only do they think that, gosh, that they save on travel time, but more importantly, they feel and they know that we are genuinely concerned about their well-being. That, I think, is very important. And that's the loyalty, that creates the loyalty brand in them, right? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, prepare for economic or regulatory shift. So I think I spoke about this earlier. Let's say now with Trump coming in, we are not that sure yet how this is going to affect the Philippines. All right. We've seen supply chains affected during the pandemic. All right. And the second one is diversify offerings to reduce risk. This was my advantage compared to other brokers. We work all lines. So, we have clients for the warehousing, we've got clients for the residential, we got condominium clients for, so we work the whole shebang, in commercial. So if one line is slow, condominium is slow, we're still strong on others. And that keeps us going. All right. Next slide. I'm sorry, I'm seeing a lot of chats here, but I haven't replied. I'll reply later. Okay, next slide. So now, after all that, so it's implementation. Because, I tell you, I give a lot of talks, and I'm free to give my secrets and what is successful for me. But at the end of the day, gosh, it's really implementing what I've shared. And I ask every single participant, if there's only one that you could practice or, implement, I think that'll be a big help, and I'll be happy with that. Next slide. Timeline. Define quarterly goals and activities. Establish regular review checkpoints. So, we always review. So what have we done so far? If this was our goal in the beginning, we review that. So where are we? Well, it's still pending. Well, so it's pending. So, but we are aware. It's got to be aware all the time where you're at exactly. All right. I asked them, what are the 10 top listings? What are our 10 top clients? If they cannot answer me immediately, that means they're not on top of it. You got to be so into it and really aware, so that we can, so we know and we are very efficient. Next slide. Communication. Very important. We always do. In fact, I always, the short talks that we have daily, 3-4 times a day, I always tell them, why I'm calling them, this strategic thing, how I negotiated with a particular client, why I did what I did, why I said what I said. So they're, so that they learn. So they themselves can also talk that way with their networks or the brokers that they speak to, right? Provide clear expectations and response. So I'm very clear with that, So we want the numbers. At the end of the day, you want your house paid in 3 years. This is what it takes. We do the numbers. Okay, you want your bonus this much. You want, I pay their pag-ibig. I pay for, a lot of things. But in return, I want this. So just so that there's, expectations on both sides, right? They know what they're going to get from what I give, and vice versa. Nice. Next slide. Monitoring and adjustments. We track performance monthly. So as I said, we always do that weekly, where we're at. We do the numbers. We're very OC. Adjust strategies based on real-time insight. So if something's not working, then change. Okay? Didn't work, no ads, no inquiries, delete. Change that. Or a certain flyer didn't get much response, didn't get much hits, change it. So we react fast. The sooner you react, the better. All right. Let's say another thing, and somebody on a negotiation, somebody asks you, or you have a buyer, and there's a seller. So selling is 100 million. Buyer offers 85 million. The sooner you react or reply to your buyer, whether that offer is acceptable or unacceptable, better. Okay? Meaning, seller is firm at 95. Offers at 85. I'm going to advise the seller that there's an 85 just so that he knows that that's really the numbers, right? But then again, I also tell the buyer that an offer was already rejected at that price. And it's really a good price already at 95. So the sooner you do that, the better. That way they don't have that time frame in their mind that there's just a chance that he might get, his offer. All right. Next slide. This is really important, self-assessment, because sometimes are you really up to it? Are you doing what it takes? So this is that portion where you really have to assess yourself. All right. Okay. Next slide. Okay. This is just a summary of all those. Okay. Next slide. Go to this. So what was your gross sale for the year? Have you figured out how much sale did you do last year? Next slide. What were your total sales? Okay. So you got to know that. So you just can't wing it and just say, oh, okay, I did well. It's okay. I'm able to eat 3 times a day. I was able to travel. I did, that sort of thing. But you got to know these numbers. All right. Next slide. What was your profit margin? I invested 3,000 in a carousel. I made a 125,000 rental income. Pretty good profit margin, wasn't it? Okay, but you got to know those, because those, when you do compute for these numbers and information, it's in your subconscious mind. It's there and it's positive. And you know that, oh, that's right, I did that right. I got to do that again. Because if it ain't broke, why change it? Next slide. What was your net income? I said that, you make so much money, but you got so much expenses, and after your expenses, that's only your net income. Boom, that's the bottom line. My mom would always tell me then, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. All right? because some really go out of their way. I mean, I see a lot of people, they make their money, they spend it, they travel, they buy a new car. Gosh, think twice before you spend, because you'll never know. There's a saying in what we do in real estate, we're only as good as our last sale. Remember that, because you'll never know when the next sale is coming up, right? So save 20% is an average. Okay, take care of your health insurance, take care of for your kids, for their schooling. So you got to factor those in. At the end of the day, in spite of your net income, you know that you've already set aside money. Next slide, please. So these are the 4 criterias. There's the land, commercial, industrial, resident. Primarily, of course, mergers and acquisitions aren't here yet, but these are the 4 lines that you could really work on. Find your niche, where they're at. They all have a particular what do you call this, need right now. On land, okay, project selling by Rockwell in Lipa is doing so well. The North hasn't done that well. Commercial, you got all these new bypass roads. Where are they? Those are things that you got to figure out. All right. Industrial, okay, where are the new industrial parks? There's more that are coming. All right. Residential, what are areas that have corrected? There's maybe a buy right now, or or subdivisions that are still growing and are still at its infant stage. Classic example is New Valley. All right, next slide. Lead generation. So where do you get your leads, right? So referrals, carousel, online ads, networking with people, reunions with your classmates. So these are things that you got to be out there. You got to communicate them. Of course, some are introverts, extroverts, and you just got to find your way. But that's why you have to assess. That's why this is all about self-assessment. Are you doing what it takes to be successful in this career? Next slide. So how long, okay, this is how OC I am. How long does it take for me to close a deal? There are deals that take 3 years. There are deals that take 2 weeks. There are deals that take 6 months. How much time and effort? And then from there, I also look at, all right, I get my closing ratio, which I think is the next slide. But you gotta know, and that will be in your index cards or whatever, Monday.com or your whatever platform you're using to follow up, to keep track of your clients and activities. Next slide. This is okay. This is a bunch of networks as part of our. A lot of people left when we had our photos taken. This is one of my networking events at Architectural Center, right? But from there, I can already derive who are the networks that I work closely with. All right, because there's a few that are there. There's a few for information. There's few that will just get information from you, but they'll fill out what you have, but they don't really work on it. There are some that really, when I give them a listing, oh God, okay, this guy's got a high ratio of closing his listings and he's good at listings. I'll work on his listings. So I've got those, So it's important to always analyze who your networks are. All right. And there are very good ones out there. And some top Remax people, some top from Keller Williams, a lot of freelance, brokers that are by themselves have developed their names, and I'm really proud of them. Right. Next slide. Okay. So what is the breakdown of your fees? This is based on a US thing. I couldn't find a slide and didn't have enough time for my staff to do a Canva. But let's say, This is the word that the 40-20-40 or the 50-50 thing is, So you got to know out of the whole deal, it was like a 5 million deal. How much did you end up breaking in or bringing in? You got to be familiar. You got to know, I mean, it's your business. You have to be aware. Next slide, please. Okay. So, I'm going to go through this really quick. So, don't like reading, but that's so. What's the average income you made on a deal? How many transactions did you have for the year? My most was 73 in a year. All right. Last year was in spite of the challenge because we knew how to maneuver or navigate where the activity is, and since I'm multi-line, I still consider it a very good year for us. What particular location did you close for mostly? If you're really good at Alabang and that's your blessing, then work on that. How many new networks did you establish? Okay. You're supposed to keep growing your networks, meet new people on a daily basis. How much time do you spend on the phone? Phone is a lifeline of our business. What's your closing ratio? Okay. All right. We can now move on to the next slide. So these are the types of property. So where are you and where are you focusing in? The residential, commercial, industrial, the mixed use, the M&As, agricultural, special purposes, for buildings. Are you connected with a tip? This is election year. And being in the Philippines, there will be properties that will be bought by politicians. If you know what I mean. Okay, so that's for me, that's a good seed planted because there are several seeds that you could plant, but the two main seeds are, one is a seed, that as a flower that grows in a month. And there's a seed that's a tree that grows in 3-5 years, but it's huge. It's massive. So you got to plant these seeds every day. All right, next slide. Location. You got to work with the location where you're blessed with. Okay, that's really critical. I've been lucky with, I've been blessed, doing the high end, from Forbes, Dasmas, White Plains, St. Ignatius. I did the C5 location then. I don't know if you're familiar. When C5 was just opened, and Acropolis had all these commercial establishments, the restaurants from the Jerry's Grill, Crocodile, and Eastwood wasn't there. I basically leased out about 70% of those restaurant sites there at that time. And from 40,000 per square on commercial lots, in 2 years' time, it became 60,000. A lot of Chinese property owners were very thankful for me, for what I've done. I go, well, it's just, I was just blessed with that market, right? So, but work with the location where you are blessed with, right? Next. Phone calls, you have to make your calls, devote time because that's where it's happening. The less phone calls you make, the less deals you will make. All right. So I hope you're doing, you're calling a lot of people, Next slide. Have you figured out your closing ratio? All right. How many properties have you shown? I base it on what I have shown and what I will close. So if it's just a phone call, I don't count that in. But if I've shown to a client, several clients, I show a property, I showed 5 properties, I was able to close 1, then that's 20% closing ratio. If I could, but I'm around the 35% range, so hard to be even those guys and selling luxury in those US. I think the highest they would get is maybe about 40%. Next slide. Then you have to understand and realize how many missed opportunities did you make, such as you were late for a viewing, You didn't return a call. Those little things. You had a temper, couldn't control it, lost the opportunity. You spoke too much in the viewing, rather than the client speaking. So these are things that you have to understand. But you have to realization is good because it makes you understand yourself more. The more you understand yourself more, the better you become. Next slide. So this is my small analytics here. So so I got my house, condo, townhouse, beach lot. So there's the residential. Okay, and then out of that, out of the residential, how many were lease and how many were sale? So there were 3 and 2 right there. Okay, on commercial, there's the lot, building, office, ground floor, and beach. So again, I did the numbers for those. 1 each, how many of them were lease and how many were sale. And then when it came to industrial, there was the warehouse, commissary, cold storage, and lot. So on the industrial, I was able, we did 5, we did 1 commissary and 1 cold storage. But out of that, on the industrial and the warehouse, they were all leases, no sale. Commissary was also a lease, cold storage also a lease. At the end, you count your sale was a total of 7 last year, and the lease was 18. All right. And out of those, 7 of those were like all direct clients. All right. And 18 were with co-brokers. Again, it's a good way of analyzing yourself. So that's why I say in my 36 years, 70% I'm a listing broker, and about that same much also is that I'm always with a broker and closing a deal. It's only very little, percentage wherein I'm direct to a client and direct to a both seller and buyer. All right. Next slide. Okay. This activity, I say this all the time, it may be so much, that's why I say that if you can just use one and for your good, and it may be helpful for you, and that's my prayer for you. So it's this activity and analysis and goal planning session may not be applicable to all. Please customize to your own needs and hopefully learn from some of the above. Thank you. I think I may have spoken too much today. All right. A successful year to all, and thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Robert. I think we have gone really over time, but I guess everyone stayed on. 90% of people stay on, Robert, to listen to you. So on behalf of everyone, I want to thank you personally. Now, I know you all have a lot of questions, but because of time, I want to respect everyone's time and Robert's time because he's actually busy working in Boracay right now, but he's still taking the time off to do this session with you all. So before we go, Robert, what's your last advice for every one of us? Like, what's your last one thing advice for everyone of us as we move on to start our week this week?
Well, analyze yourself. There are so much opportunities, and do not be misled by, this bloggers saying all this bad news. Okay, because have a mentor. Have a mentor that could really guide you. I think that's very, very important for everyone. You're lucky. There's so many good mentors nowadays from the Remax group. I highly respect them. Keller Williams and others. No, I myself, I do a lot of mentoring and just go out of your way to really mentor. There's a lot of opportunities. The tide is turning towards Asia. All right. And Europe, US, they're fading. Investments will be coming in here. All right. It's just a matter of time. If you could just fix this political, but even with this political issues that we've had, we're still doing great. We still have one of the highest GDPs among all the ASEAN or countries in the world.
Right. Awesome.
And finally,
yes.
Finally, I think it's really important that you come into this in real estate, that your main purpose is to help people. That's it. 'Cause the money will follow, but really helping truly and out of your heart without really asking anything in return, really. That's it.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you so much. I hope everyone has learned something today. I believe all of them have. Now, guys, as we have done with today, I just want to let you know next week we have another powerful session. If Hannah, could you share the poster for next week? Next week we have a power session with a powerful couple. That's going to talk about high performance, how to run an effective business with high performance. They are both Mitch and Dennis Rosate has been a very, very a prominent broker in the market, and recently they have chosen to join the Keller Williams family. So basically, they will be interviewed to talk about how are they running their high performance business. And I think you will learn something from next week, where you're going to have a more tactical approach. Today, Robert's giving us more of a what you call a strategic approach and overview, but next week we're going to go very specific and very tactical about things, right? So please sign up and register here if you want to join the session next week, same time, next Monday at 9 a.m. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Please express your gratitude to Robert on the chat box and in the chat box if you can, so that he will be able to see how you are learning through his time spent in Boracay today. Thank you, Robert. You have a good rest of the weekend or rest of the week, and we'll talk to you later. Thank you, everyone.